Few movies are as iconic and revered as Ridley Scott's Gladiator. With its sweeping story, unforgettable characters, and emotionally satisfying conclusion, it felt like a masterpiece that didn't need a sequel. But Hollywood had other plans. Over 20 years later, Gladiator 2 has arrived, and let's say it's been met with more confusion than applause. So today, let's compare the masterpiece to the Met. Let's figure out where Gladiator 2 went wrong. When Gladiator hit theaters in 2000, it redefined the sword and sandals genre. Directed by Ridley Scott, starring Russell Crowe in his prime, and featuring a haunting score by Hans Zimmer, it wasn't just a film, it was an experience. The story of Maximus, a betrayed general turned gladiator seeking revenge, was simple yet emotional. It left the audience with a poignant sense of closure as Maximus' journey ended with both a personal and narrative triumph.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I would put to the whole world if you would only love me.
Gladiator didn't leave room for a sequel because it didn't need to. It told a complete, satisfying story. Maximus's death was a powerful conclusion, not just for him, but for the empire he fought to save. A sequel was always going to struggle to recapture the magic, especially without Russell Crowe's Maximus.
Now we are free. We'll see you again. But not yet. Not yet.
So what is the plot for Gladiator 2? The story picks up 16 years later. Lucius, the young boy from the first film, is now an adult living under a new identity in North Africa, when his peaceful life is destroyed by the Roman army. He's dragged back to Rome as a slave. Cue training montages, gladiator fights, and of course, a revenge plot that seems oddly familiar. The problem is that this new story is really just a watered-down retread of the original without any emotional depth or gravitas.
The city for the glory of Rome.
Cases. There are victories yet still to come.
Rome has so many subjects, she must feed them.
They can eat war.
The arena turns slaves into gladiators, the gladiators into free men.
You have something in you. I knew it from the start.
Did you now?
Rage. That rage is your gift.
This is about survival! Survive! Hold together, and when the charges break for the wall.
Let's talk protagonist. Maximus was a man of principle, a general turned gladiator fueled by grief and honor. His motivations were crystal clear: avenge his family and restore Rome to the ideals of Marcus Aurelius. Everything he did was tied to those goals, whether it was surviving the arena or confronting Commodus. His actions were deliberate, his pain was palpable, and his resolve was unshakable. That's what made him so compelling. His arc was deeply emotional and undeniably satisfying. Now let's look at Lucius. On paper, his story has the potential to be just as powerful. He's a man broken by tragedy, seeking revenge for his murdered family. But the way he plays it out is very messy. His motivations feel inconsistent. At first, he's all about revenge, but then it seems like he just lets it go without any explanation. One moment, he's also furious with his mother for abandoning him, and next, they're hugging like everything's fine. And when Lucius gets his big moment, it completely falls flat. Instead of delivering a commanding emotional revelation, we get an awkward scene where he recites poetry and laughs hysterically. It's confusing, it's tonally jarring, and it doesn't leave a lasting impression. The difference here is cohesion. Maximus had a clear, focused journey that kept the audience invested. Lucius's arc feels scattered, lacking the emotional weight and clarity to carry the story. And while Paul Mescal does his best with the role, he simply doesn't have the commanding screen presence that Russell Crowe brought to the original. Maximus was larger than life, a force in nature. Lucius, he's more of a faint echo of what made the first film so great in the first place. Then there are the villains. Commodus, played masterfully by Joaquin Phoenix, was a complex antagonist. Vain, insecure, desperate for his father's approval. His actions were horrifying, but they made sense for his character. In Gladiator 2, however, the antagonists are cartoonishly evil. The two emperors are over-the-top characters, and Pedro Pascal's military commander is blandly written. None of them have the depth or nuance that Commodus brought to the original role. Speaking of casting, Gladiator 2 has a strange lineup. Denzel Washington is a phenomenal actor, but with his modern-day mannerisms and his New York accent, it makes him feel like he's out of place here. Pedro Pascal, while great with other roles, doesn't quite fit the hardened military leader archetype here. And while Paul Mescal tries his best, he's no Russell Crowe. The miscasting adds to the overall sense that Gladiator 2 lacks the gravitas of the original. Let's talk about one of the biggest problems with Gladiator 2, its recycled plot. If you've seen the original Gladiator, you've seen this movie, except it's less engaging and far less original. The film hits every major story beat from the first one. A protagonist loses his family, gets forced into slavery, and becomes a gladiator, and eventually fights for revenge. Sound familiar? It's as if the filmmakers thought if it worked once, it'll work again. But they forgot the most important part, the execution. In Gladiator, Maximus' journey felt natural and impactful. His transformation from powerful general to gladiator fueled by grief was a seamless progression. In Gladiator 2, however, Lucius's arc feels forced, like they checked off some boxes from the greatest hits list. Even the antagonist, Pedro Pascal's military commander, mirrors elements of Commodus' manipulative nature, but without the depth and complexity. And let's not forget about the climactic speeches. In Gladiator, Maximus' speeches are raw, emotional, and driven by a clear purpose. In the sequel, they just try to replicate that magic, but it just feels hollow. The stakes aren't as clear, and the speeches lack the gravitas that made Maximus' words so memorable. Then there's the supporting cast. Gladiator had characters who felt essential to the story. Proximo, Jubo, and Commodus' sister. They added layers to the narrative. In Gladiator 2, the supporting characters feel like filler. They're either underdeveloped or entirely forgettable, which only highlights how much the film leans on the framework of the original without understanding what made it work. The bottom line, Gladiator 2 isn't just a sequel, it's a retread, and when you're following up a masterpiece with a half-hearted imitation, it just isn't enough. At its core, Gladiator 2 is a movie that never needed to exist. It's a shadow of its predecessor, recycling its best ideas without understanding what made them great. If you're craving the epic drama of ancient Rome, you're better off re-watching the original masterpiece. Trust me, some things are better left untouched. But do you agree or do you not agree? Comment below, and if you liked the video, hit that like button and also subscribe if you want to see more videos. It really helps with the algorithm. I thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again in the next one.